Hello, today's video will be about a modern charger that has some very interesting features, and I would like to tell you more about such modern devices and how well they can handle certain tasks. So today we are seeing the Everactive NC900U Universal Professional Charger. This particular model is made by a Polish company, and I think that it's quite a good device for a couple of reasons. First of all, let's mention and see the device itself. It has a plastic construction. It's quite heavy. I think that it's not that far off 1 kilo. It has the ability to use multiple battery sizes from the 9 volts typical one that not many chargers have the ability to use, up to the AA, AAA, C and D batteries. So it can hold just about any traditional nickel metal hydride cell, and I think that this is very interesting. And in terms of features, it has an LCD display that is highly useful, perhaps one of the most important features that such a modern device, such a modern product has. And also it has the ability to charge at a higher current your battery, so this means that they charge quicker than on all the models. So I think that it has a very good set of features, so let's see what they are actually. All right, I mentioned that it's a fast charger, and this is very important for a couple of reasons. Previously, when we used chargers such as the classical ones you are all too well aware of, let's say more than or almost 20 years ago, we would have to spend as much time as, I don't know, 10 hours or so in order to charge properly a battery because the charging current was very low. Of course, charging a battery with lower current means less impact on the battery's lifetime, but on the other hand, much less convenience because you have to use so much time your charger, and you have to take that into account how much time they spend. So it's not really for the modern person. Such a device, on the other hand, clearly is. So let's see what's capable of. It charges batteries. I should have said that it also has an USB port, so that could be useful in certain situations. It's not one that has a large charging current capability. It has only 1 amp, which is not bad, but it's not as high as other devices, so it's not going to be able to charge fast your USB external battery or something along the line. It has a 30 watts rating, which is quite good. Probably 5 watts is dedicated to the USB output. This is typical, and 5 volts multiplied by 1 amp reaches around 5 watts. So it's a 25 watts rechargeable battery power available that you use on all your batteries. Recharge current, charge current. It's interesting that such devices do not have just a single ability. And sometimes we may not be aware of the fact that our batteries are not in a fully discharged state. They could be requiring just an additional charging that would make them full again, or there may be somewhere in between the fully discharged and fully charged state. So having such charging device that could determine roughly how much the battery still has in stored energy, I think is a major advantage. So what matters a lot for users is convenience, and I think that this device does so very well. I have to mention before delving more upon its feature, the fact that this was a model I purchased, so it's not a promotional video. I have been using it for almost 6 months, so I think you will have a very good indication of what the device is capable of, and of course about its advantages and disadvantages. Half a kilo, okay. So, thinking a bit about what you're going to use this device for, I have 3 batteries that are going to be subjected to this charger. I have used different batteries because one of them is quite new, the other one is quite old but uses a different chemistry. I think it's a battery that is about around 20 years old, and this one roughly has the same age. What matters is that this charger is able to determine quite well how much each of these batteries can be charged, and this matters a lot because your battery is not going to spend probably more time than necessary charging, and you're not going to be left with additional power that cannot be extracted just because you haven't left the battery long enough in your charger. So I think that there are some advantages that you have to take into account. The charging current. I have measured the charging current, and it's quite close to specifications. As you can see over here, 1 amp on double A's, 1 amp on C or D, 500 milliamps on the triple A's, 60 milliamps on the 9 volt range, but this is typical, and the USB output at 1 amp. I have made a small note over here. I don't know if it's readily obvious, but it says, okay, let's see if it focuses, 0.4 to 0.8 amps, which means that the charging current, although it can possibly reach 1 amp, I have measured at 0.8 amps. It's quite a good current. Keep that in mind. When such batteries are charged, it's a very good value. So, in terms of the way in which it operates, I will also make some additional notes. Right, I think this presents everything that would have been interesting. And let's look at the device and of course plug it in. So the moment you're going to plug the device, you're going to notice right away that the screen lights up, and I don't know if it's clearly visible, but I can notice over here the potential values being presented. So each of these batteries have the ability to present their current charging state from 0 to 100, which is very good. And also this covers the 9 volts batteries. What you see over here is a normal behavior for this charger. It may be slightly annoying to some, and of course in dimly lit rooms it will be a slight annoyance. However, this is the way in which all of these devices operate. Not only the ones that are made by Everactive, but also those sold by other manufacturers. All of these LEDs show the powering state of each of these slots. And when one is charged, it gets to green. When it's discharged, it's red. And in this way, you have a visual indication. Unfortunately, just about at around 2 or 3 seconds, I have not determined it precisely, there is this cycling that occurs in the attempt of finding if a battery is connected. I'm pretty sure that this is not a bad design decision. The only fact that I would consider as an improvement would have been if these LEDs would not be turned on unless a battery is being connected. Alright, let's take a battery, and of course notice that there are multiple contacts available for all of these slots. So they can you can have a AA or a AAA battery, or even a C or D that is placed in certain sockets, and only AA and AAA batteries in others. Alright. What matters a lot is, of course, polarity. You're going to have to use the right polarity, and you can, of course, make a wrong connection. As soon as the battery is going to be plugged, it's going to present itself at a 0 value. However, after some time passes, a correct value is going to be indicated, and we are going to see how fast this happens. Okay, another battery. And the third one. As you can see, one of the batteries has already been detected at 30% charge, the other one at 0. I'm pretty sure that after some time is going to pass, yes, as you can see, a different charging state was determined by the charger. What the charger actually does, and it's very interesting and you should be aware of. I think that at a cycle around the one that you have previously noticed with the blinking lights, there is a current being sent to the battery, then this current is stopped, and another cycle is occurring every 2 or 3 seconds. So the battery is charged on and off for a couple of times until it reaches the full charging state. This means that determining the charging state is much more accurate than with other devices, and I think this is one of the most important features. I'm pretty sure that there are chargers that are having the same ability to determine the battery's charging state. However, this is not clearly done in devices that were manufactured 5 or 7 years ago. How much this charger costs, and probably I should have mentioned that from the start, is around, I think, yes, something in between 15 to 20 euros, or the whereabouts of 20 to 25 US dollars. So it's not highly expensive, and when you consider the fact that there are still older technology chargers that do not have these capabilities, and they cost around $10 or euros, I think that this is not a bad price. Okay, now it says 10% charging state. It's interesting, those values may change. Sometimes the battery may spend a lot of time at 90% charging. However, this goes on to show that you're clearly not going to have the battery spend more time than required on the charger. So this is a major advantage of these solutions. There is also a label over here that mentions what happens with the battery, if it is refreshing, charging, ready, or there is an error. So you can quite readily determine what is the situation without leaving your battery useless in your charger. And I think that overall this goes on to show a very good product. I have used it, as mentioned, for 6 months, and I think that it really makes a very good stand for its in terms of efficiency and in terms of reliable operation. And I think that we will have many years to enjoy such a device. So overall, I think it's good. What is not so good? I noticed that 9-volt batteries, and it doesn't matter if I'm using an Energizer brand or not, are much less difficult to determine if they are correctly charged or not. And I have seen a battery spending, I think, a bit longer than 6 hours in the charger and still being featured at 90% charging state. So there might be some situations where the 9-volt battery charging may not be what you expect. On the other side, it's a solid AA and AAA battery charger. I have not been able to use COD batteries because I do not have them in any device, and I have not used them. I have used them, I think, around more than a decade ago. So not, and even in this circumstance, there were not rechargeable batteries. But I think that as a AA or AAA battery or even a 9-volt battery charger, it features a perfect ability. Of course, it could be slightly improved. The design could be slightly improved, but I think that what it offers right now for the price you are seeing is solid. And I think this is what mattered. I have not been using extensively the USB output, though I'm pretty sure it will reach a good result. They mentioned right off the bat a typical charging time for the AAA batteries, 2 hours, which means it's a very good one. 2.5 hours, of course, for higher capacity batteries. For the AA batteries, 2000 milliamps or 2500 milliamps hour, 2.5 to 3 hours, which is actually very fast. In general, most fast chargers available today are having an expected charging time of around 5 hours. So this one is clearly very fast. And the way in which it charges, meaning on and off, is probably much better in the way those batteries will behave, because ultimately the risk of overcharging is reduced. And with traditional chargers, particularly if they were not suited to a certain battery type, overcharging was possible. Of course, it doesn't damage that much your typical nickel metal hydride battery, but I think that in time it has an impact, a slight impact on its lifetime. Of course, nothing as severe as for lithium-ion or lithium polymer batteries, but this happens. What is also just as important when mentioning nickel metal hydride batteries, determining their actual charge is quite difficult, because those battery types do not have such an easy possibility of simply measuring their DC voltage, and I should have mentioned that from the start. For instance, this battery has slightly lower voltage than this one when charged. So the charger has to consider something else, and probably this is what it attempts, to see how much additional current each battery has when charging. I'm not entirely sure if it does so. It's not documented. It could be, it could not, it may not be. Or it determines the voltage difference between two charging cycles. However, it's a very difficult information to grasp, but I think this is what the device attempts to do. And this is the right way, because ultimately if the delivered current or the battery's voltage increases ever so slightly, meaning in fractions of an amp, in fractions of a volt, it means that the battery still charges. When this value doesn't increase any longer, it means that the battery is not charging, so charging should be stopped. This goes on to show how much technology has advanced and how much a newer device can bring in terms of capabilities, even if to the end user it may seem a common occurrence. I mean, your typical phone or your typical battery used in laptops and other devices already can determine quite well how much charge it has and how much longer it takes in order to charge itself completely. On the other hand, with this type of batteries, there was a lot of unknown in the past. I think that this also has a major influence, in the sense that when you're going to see such devices operating, you will have much less difficulty in using them. And this means that hopefully a lot of users will make the switch from your typical alkaline batteries to rechargeable batteries, because they make much more sense economically, and of course we are protecting the environment, because a battery can be charged multiple times. 500 cycles or 1000 cycles are not out of the norm. And think about it, with a battery that doesn't cost uh, 100 times more, even when accounting for the charger that you may have to purchase from time to time, either for convenience or for the actual battery use. And such chargers can clearly be used even 10 years in the future, so it's not going to be a purchase that is being useless. Okay, so in the end, I think that such devices are highly useful. As you can see, just when talking, those batteries have been charged to a good extent. Of course, all of these batteries have not been previously discharged fully. They have been left mostly in storage as spare batteries for some of my devices. But as you can see right away, they have charged slightly, and they are going to be able to be better available when needed. Alright, so I think that this sums up very well this video. I think that the device is solid, it has good performance, and as mentioned, if you ever see a device that looks like that, you can be certain that it's the same platform. And since so many manufacturers are selling it, even store brands, I think that you're going to have affordable devices available, and they're going to be cheap. So I hope you have a use for such a device, and if you watch, then thank you very much. I appreciate also your comments and insight. So I think this sums up pretty well everything I had to say. Thank you very much for watching.